Perhaps my fate was not destined to be peaceful today. When about half an hour had passed, Begum woke me up again. This time, she was angrier than me. She pulled me up by shaking me with both arms. I sat up and looked at her. It was clear from her face that there was something really strange going on. She quickly sat down in front of me and, leaning towards me in secret, said, "You know, there is a fight going on at Maulvi Sahib's house. Maulvi Sahib and Nazreen Bobby are also fighting a lot. I have asked about the problem and Nazreen Bobby has told me while crying that Maulvi Sahib is getting married again. I am surprised and worried that how Maulvi Sahib can do this. I also found it quite strange to hear. How can Maulvi Sahib do this? Yes, it is possible that he is a little bound by Sharia law and is thinking of supporting another woman. Have you heard all this from Maulvi Sahib?" I asked Begum. "Oh no, he must have gone out. Only Nazreen Bobby is at home. I have also sat down and I have also come after asking them." I did not take Begum's words seriously. I felt that perhaps this was a matter of suspicion and Nazreen Bobby was also accusing Maulvi Sahib because of some suspicion. Maulvi Sahib did not seem like the kind of person who would ever take such a step, and even if it had happened, it would have come to light later. I had no intention of going to Maulvi and starting a discussion. Everyone had their own lives. There was complete silence at his house till evening. In the evening, when I went to offer Maghrib prayers, I saw worry on Maulvi Sahib's face. It did not take me long to guess that he was probably worried about some domestic problem. I wanted to stop him and ask him, but then I did not think it appropriate. I do not know what he would think of me. But today there was something that made Maulvi Sahib so worried. Earlier, he used to sit in the mosque for a long time after leading prayers, but today he had gone home immediately after leading prayers and I had just come home. While eating, Begum once again asked me when I asked him. I told him that yes, Maulvi Sahib was really worried and inattentive today. I didn't know what the problem could be. I thought it might be some minor problem, but the matter was more serious than I thought. When that incident happened the next day, I was coming home after a vacation. It was a summer afternoon and all the streets were quite deserted. But as soon as I entered my street, I found some people standing in front of Maulvi Sahib's house. I was quite surprised. I kept watching for a while and then I involuntarily moved my steps towards his house. Strange whispers were coming to my heart. "May you be well." I didn't know what the problem was with so many people gathered here. When I went near the house, there were sounds of fighting again from inside and some women were gathered in front of the door and 2 or 3 men, probably passing by the street, stopped and asked about the matter. I also went to them and asked if they were well and what the problem was. From the sounds coming from the cleric's house, I could tell that there was probably a fight going on inside and the people outside were standing and watching the scene with interest. It was difficult to stand here in such heat. The loud voices of the cleric's wife were coming. I asked these people what the problem was. When another of our neighbors, Ghaffur, grabbed my arm and took me aside, I was looking at him in surprise. He was giving his expressions as if he wanted to discuss some very big and serious problem with me or tell me some big secret. "Brother, you are the cleric's neighbor, don't you know what is going on?" When Ghaffur asked me, I helplessly shook my head in the negative. "No, I don't know what the problem is." When I asked, he approached me in a low voice and said, "Maulvi Nazimuddin has remarried and that is why his wife is fighting with him in his house and the 2 are arguing. I can hear that the Maulvi had remarried somewhere outside and now his wife has found out. I don't know what will happen now." I was very surprised to hear him. My wife had mentioned the incident to the black man and she was saying that the Malvi was going to get married, while the man said that the Malvi had already married. In fact, only Malvi Nazimuddin knew now. I nodded and went towards my house. I was quite tired and wanted some peace and quiet. By evening, the word had spread throughout the neighborhood that Malvi Nazimuddin had remarried and the Malvi was not yet showing any reaction to this news. But when he came to lead the prayers, the worry on his face and his deep silence indicated that the Malvi had in fact remarried somewhere. My age. At that time, I was about 17 years old. At that time, the Imam of the mosque in our area was Malvi Feroz. Malvi Feroz was a very good person and people were very impressed with his personality. He made all the decisions in our neighborhood and people respected his decisions. He had only one daughter, Nazreen Malvi. He used to conduct congregational prayers in the neighborhood mosque and also taught the Quran in the nearby boys' madrasa. Apart from one daughter, Malvi had no other children. His wife had also died some time ago and Malvi was also a very weak person. He was a very sensible, moral and understanding person. The whole neighborhood respected him immensely and sang about his nobility. When Malvi fell ill, he married his daughter to a student studying in his own madrasa and told people that he was an orphan child but a very good person. I especially liked him. That is why I am not only marrying my daughter to him, but he will live in this neighborhood from today and after me, he will be the Imam of the mosque for all the people. So he took an orphan student not only as his son, but also as his son. He took him, but also gave him a house and made him the Imam of the mosque. His respect among the people increased even more. He married his daughter to this boy Nazimuddin and he started living there in his house. When Malvi Feroz died, after him, his son-in-law Malvi Nazimuddin took over the mosque of the neighborhood and from then on he was our Imam of the mosque. People were very happy with Malvi Feroz's decision because when they saw Malvi Nazimuddin's sincere nature and nobility, they would admit from their hearts that Malvi Feroz had made a good decision for them. Malvi Nazimuddin was also respected in the neighborhood. People were convinced of his peaceful nature. He would easily resolve the biggest problems and biggest disputes in the neighborhood and would never interfere or give orders in them unnecessarily. For this reason, he earned a lot of respect for himself in this unknown neighborhood. Till today, people had not treated him in any way. Malvi there was a good Imam in the neighborhood and a happy married man, but some of his habits were strange to the people of the neighborhood, one of which was that he would go somewhere after the noon prayer every Saturday and then return to the Fajr prayer on Sunday. People who used to come to offer prayers did not know where he went until today. Ever since he took over the duty of Imam of the mosque, this work was his constant. People did not know where he went after the Zuhr prayer every Saturday and where he stayed overnight when he came to the mosque on Sunday morning for the Fajr prayer. But since this was a part of his personal life, people did not consider it appropriate to interfere. However, for a while, this matter remained a cause of concern among people. According to Malvi Nazimuddin, he had no relatives. His parents had passed away, so no one knew, so who knows where the Malvi would go at that time. This was one of his principles. He never shied away from his work for a single day. Apart from this, there was no other action that caused any concern among the people. After the Fajr prayer, he would teach the children the Quran in the mosque and then go home. In a single day, various rumors against him gained momentum. Everyone was saying that Malvi Nazimuddin was already married, while his wife had now come to know about it. Some people were saying that Malvi Nazimuddin had now gotten married. No matter how much I talked, since I was a neighbor, the daily quarrels at Malvi Sahib's house had also confirmed this. It was also one such evening, and as usual, there was an argument between the husband and wife at Maulvi Sahib's house when suddenly Maulvi Sahib said in a loud voice, "Yes, yes, I got married. Do whatever you want." And with that, there was a deep silence. We both husband and wife looked at each other. As soon as Maulvi Sahib had confirmed his words, it was strange. Surprising events were happening. Maulvi Sahib got married in an instant, but he never went out with anyone, and he never went out with anyone. He would go somewhere on Saturdays, so did he do so many things in one day that he even got married. Maulvi Sahib had 2 small daughters, a happy family, and who had noticed this happy family now, since Maulvi Sahib had confirmed his own words, so people also laughed for a few days and then gradually became silent. Everyone also thought that Maulvi might have been inclined towards a second marriage due to his Malvian nature, and this was not a practice that could be discussed or debated. The rest of the quarrels that arose in his house were his personal problems. Everyone was now silent about this incident. When Maulvi Sahib disappeared again on Saturday, but when he returned, he did not come alone. He had a beautiful white mare with him. That evening, Begum informed me that Maulvi Sahib might have bought a mare. There was a lot of quarreling between the husband and wife, but now there was a refuge from big quarrels, so there was some peace in the house. I looked at Begum with a mocking smile and said, "What kind of hobbies has Maulvi Sahib suddenly started to have? First he took a second wife and now he has brought a mare." It was a common thing among us that until that strange incident happened, Maulvi Sahib's mare was very beautiful and people liked her very much. People thought that Maulvi Sahib might have developed this hobby and bought this mare because of his hobby. When that evening after the Isha prayers, Maulvi Sahib asked the people to remain seated, the people were in a strange conflict. No one could understand what Maulvi Sahib had to say, that he was asking the people to sit down. Some time passed in silence when an elder of our neighborhood, Obaid Sahib, looking at Maulvi Sahib, said, "What is the matter, Maulvi Sahib? For the past few days, a lot of things have been heard against you in the neighborhood. Do you want to confirm these things? If you have taken a second marriage, the people of the neighborhood have no objection to it. Islam. This gives you this right and it is your right. If you want to say something about it, don't worry, we are with you." Maulvi Sahib looked at him with a faint smile and stroked his beard. At that moment, he seemed to be suffering from strange anxiety, and by seeing his strange movements, I could guess how mentally disturbed he was. When Maulvi Sahib started talking, "First of all, I am very grateful to all of you that you respected me and did not react negatively to all the things that were said against me. After that, the question of the second marriage remained. I confess that I have married a second time." The people sitting in the back rows were looking at each other in surprise and were making strange noises. Some people thought that Maulvi Sahib had done it perfectly well, while some people objected to the fact that he had completely deceived Maulvi Faraz. Maulvi Faraz then gave Maulvi Nazimuddin his shelter when he was a Sahara, was an orphan, and the Maulvi did not treat his daughter well and brought a blanket on her. What kind of reward was this for someone's good treatment? When the Maulvi Sahib started his speech once again, "All of you must be thinking that if I have married a second time, then who is she and where does she belong to? Since all these things are related to my personality, but despite this, I want to share this with you that my second wife is living with me in my house." Everyone looked at each other in surprise because until now, according to their opinion, only the Maulvi's first wife and children lived in the house. Then when did the second wife come? But Maulvi Sahib, in my opinion, only your wife and children live in this house. Do you intend to bring your second wife now? Since I lived very close to his house and shared our wall, I had to speak. The Maulvi Sahib looked at me and shook his head in affirmation and said, "My wife lives with me. I brought her only yesterday evening. She is not a person, but a white." It was like I could not believe my ears, and not just me. Everyone looked at each other with wide eyes. It seemed as if Maulvi Sahib had gone mad. People looked at him for a while as if they did not understand what he was saying, and then started exchanging meaningful glances when once again Obaid Sahib said, "Maulvi Sahib, what kind of talk are you talking about? How can you bring a mare as your wife, and how can you marry her?" This question was for everyone sitting there, as if I have told all of you that this incident is related to my identity and I want to keep it limited to my own identity, so do not ask me unnecessary questions and unnecessary slander. Thank you. Everyone was amazed and Maulvi Sahib got up and left. People were looking at each other with strange eyes and a discussion had broken out in the mosque. No one could believe what Maulvi said. They could not understand that this was some kind of joke that Maulvi was telling. Nazimuddin has left them when Ubaid Sahib once again sternly said that this is a mosque and there should be no unnecessary discussion in the mosque. I request everyone to go to their respective homes. People went to their homes one by one and I also went home. I still could not understand anything that what happened to this Maulvi Nazimuddin. How is a person of great respect heading towards decline? I came home and my wife asked, "What is the matter? You look a bit surprised and worried." I looked at her and made her sit next to me. "Natsia, do you know that Maulvi Nazimuddin has confessed to a second marriage and his second wife is living in this house?" "Well, who told you this?" She was as surprised as I was that Maulvi Nazimuddin himself had told me, and his second wife was not a woman but the white mare that he had brought yesterday. My wife spontaneously put both her hands on her mouth. She was also looking at me in surprise. How is this possible? And I was surprised and worried. The most surprising thing was how the quarrel that had been going on for several days suddenly became silent. And how could Maulvi Sahib's wife, that is, Nazreen Babi, suddenly become silent? What was the reason for all this? I was now getting to the bottom of this matter in every situation. Maulvi Sahib was seen roaming around on his horse every day. There was no quarrel in his house like before. Rather, he was completely calm. There was a lot of talk against him in the neighborhood. Everyone had an incident about him on their lips and everyone was completely shocked. People were surprised and worried that this kind of incident had happened in our village. Some people believed that this was a very immoral and vile act and was completely against the Sharia. If this thing was not stopped now, then this thing would definitely become a custom in a few days and every other person in our neighborhood would do this. When the imam of the mosque in the neighborhood has done this vile act, what can be expected from other people? Some people agreed among themselves that Maulvi Sahib should be dismissed from the mosque and that no one would pray behind him now, and some people even implemented this. Gradually, people stopped praying behind Maulvi Sahib, and one day everyone told Maulvi Sahib that he did not need to come to the mosque again. No one would let him stay in this neighborhood after the vile act he had committed, and that he should leave this neighborhood as soon as possible. This behavior of the people greatly disturbed Maulvi Sahib. He tried to explain to the people that this was his life and he was living it as he pleased, and no one had the right to object to it, but the people did what they decided to do, and Maulvi Sahib fell into the depths of humiliation. The respect that the neighborhood had given him was now written in his destiny, and even more humiliation was written in his destiny. People were now completely convinced that Maulvi Sahib should leave this neighborhood at all costs, otherwise they would call Maulvi Sahib's police. I will file a complaint that he is corrupting the young generation of the neighborhood. His mare was so beautiful that whenever he went out with her, people would go to see her with interest. And then, the fact that she was Maulvi Sahib's wife created a strange atmosphere in the neighborhood. I don't know who was this Saraz that Maulvi Sahib was hiding inside himself and because of which he took such a big step. I knew his personality well. He was never someone who would even pass by something that went against his honor. I had decided in my heart that I would get to the bottom of this matter at all costs. I will stay until I reach my destination. Such thoughts came to my mind. How could a respectable person do such a dishonorable thing? And if the cleric had married her out of compulsion, how could he keep her as his wife now? It was truly astonishing that such compulsion had to happen, that a person had to lose his respect for the rest of his life. The people of the neighborhood completely boycotted the Maulvi and reacted so strongly that the Maulvi actually had to leave the neighborhood. That morning, I saw that he was packing up all the things in the house. In fact, I was deeply saddened. A man who had spent his entire life with honor was now leaving the place so humiliated. I saw the Maulvi's face withering. My wife went to his house, but when she returned, she also told me that Nazreen Bobby and Maulvi Sahib were packing up all the things including the children. They were very worried. I tried to ask them, but Nazreen Bobby was also silent. I don't know what is going on. I don't understand. In the evening, I saw Maulvi Sahib leaving the neighborhood. His wife and daughters were also with him and he was also holding a white mare. I deliberately glanced at him and asked Maulvi Sahib, "Where are you going now?" After listening to me, Maulvi Sahib fell silent for a while and then said in a soft tone, "The earth of Allah is very big, we will reach somewhere." I could guess his worry from his answer. While consoling him, I said to him in a friendly tone, "Maulvi Sahib, mistakes are made by humans. Ask for forgiveness for your mistake. I will intercede for you with all of them. The matter will be resolved. Sell it to her. This is the root of all the trouble." While talking, I pointed to the mare at the end and Maulvi Sahib's complexion immediately turned pale. "It is not something to be sold. It is related to me and I do not save the relationships related to myself." From his words, I was now suspecting his mental state, but I remained silent as if it were your wish, "But if I had to meet you?" "No, no, you may not be able to meet me, I will meet you myself." By saying this, he shook my hand and moved forward. I stood there and watched him for a while. I had a strange feeling about his words. This incident was not something that would make the country a laughing stock. This news had spread to all the surrounding areas and everyone was making up various things against the cleric. Every day a new story started with the fabricated stories of the people. Someone said that the cleric's blood pressure was not good. Someone said that the cleric's attachment to animals had driven him crazy. Someone said that the cleric was infatuated with the beauty of this mare. Initially, it had become a well-known fact among the queens of non-Muslim kings that they were fond of high-bred horses and kept various high-bred horses. Even incidents started happening that many queens would fulfill their desires with horses. I had heard such fabricated stories, but I did not believe them. I rarely did, but now, this incident before my eyes was forcing me to believe in myself and things were becoming clear that the cleric was actually obsessed with her beauty and perhaps now his wife, in order to save her home and relationship, agreed to leave this neighborhood with him. Although he was born in this neighborhood and spent his childhood in it and all his memories were associated with this neighborhood, about a month passed in these matters. The people of the neighborhood got together and arranged for a Maulvi who belonged to another neighborhood and was quite weak in age, but I was still looking for Maulvi Nazimuddin and was anxious to know the events from him. Finally, My efforts were completed one day when I was sitting in school and the peon informed me that Maulvi Nazimuddin had come to meet you. It was a little before the holiday. I told the peon to tell Maulvi Sahib to wait for me for a while. By then the holiday will be over and I will meet him in detail. There was only a little time left in the holiday. I was very happy in my heart and was anxious to know when I would meet Maulvi Nazimuddin. Apart from knowing this incident, my heart was also yearning to meet him. I actually had a deep attachment to him. After a while, the holiday ended and I got up and I went to Maulvi Sahib. I met him happily as soon as I went. He was also very happy to see me. I felt that Maulvi Sahib had become quite weak physically and the freshness of his face had also faded a bit. I took him, put him on a motorcycle and drove to a nearby hotel because I was not yet thinking it would be good for me to go home with him. I knew that people would say something to him after seeing him. The atmosphere was suitable here. You did a great job. Maulvi Sahib. I was missing you a lot. It was good that you came to meet me. My